I'm Jamie Adams, and I've been making money like a good Ferengi.
I'm Ian McAllister, and my psychopathic dragon-kid wizard won the recent game of roleplayer.
And I'm Sam Maggs, and it's either the decks I'm picking or I'm simply just amazing at Keyforge.
It's the decks.
Either way, this is Brainwaves, bringing you the best in tabletop gaming news. And the headlines for week beginning the 16th of September 2018. The tabletops came to Scotland and it was good. Take part in making Rome fall, or not, in the new game in the Pandemic series. And Fortnite comes to Monopoly!
I'm sorry, what now?
Fortnite comes to Monopoly!
You put Monopoly in the headlines.
Headline newsy and all the way. All the big news here on Big News Brainwaves. What's in Board Game World? Monopoly.
Have you guys got like a spin-off podcast all about Monopoly that I don't know about?
Oh, if we don't, we should. Well, hear me out, because it sounds kind of interesting. All of this and more on this week's Brainwaves.
Over the weekend of 1st and 2nd of September, Tabletop Scotland came to the Dure Centre in Perth. Sam and I were in attendance. I was running the playtest zone there, and Sam was just there as a punter. And it's safe to say that it was an absolutely resounding success.
It was a good time.
Yeah, it was really good. They had over 1,067 uniques through the door, 1,521 through over the weekend, and we had a fantastic time, didn't we, Sam?
We did.
It's 3:30 on day one of Tabletop Scotland. I am here with co-host Sam, who has been wandering around the con, buying things, generally making a nuisance of himself. How have you been getting on, Sam?
I'm good. It's cool.
Yeah? What do you think of the first year of Tabletop Scotland?
I think there's a lot here.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do. For its first year, it's a really good size. There's two very distinct areas. There's like the main hall. We've got lots of playtest stuff, lots of library things, lots of people showing off cool things, lots of shops, and then there's like a food area with a load of break-off rooms for RPGs and bits and bobs like that. So I think size-wise, first con, it's impressive.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot going on, as you can hear from behind us. There's loads of stuff going on, loads of noise. I see like sort of several hundred gamers just playing board games, people wandering around buying stuff. There's big organised areas upstairs, RPGs and everything. The team have just done a really good job for a first year. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't know what else to say. What should we say?
Me neither. We're here, Jamie, and you aren't.
Yeah, it was my first real kind of convention of that type. I've done Compulsion over in Edinburgh, but I think it's a different kind of event.
A different beast.
And this was definitely a much more kind of large event floor convention as you'd kind of typically imagine. It was a good time. I think they had a really good range of events on show, really lots of things for the public to get up to. I did a little type up as part of the blog, and you can go ahead over to the website and read a bit more about kind of what we did. But it's a really good time.
Yeah, it was really good, and they had a really good attitude for welcoming people who maybe not be into board gaming. They had a gateway zone right at the front of the convention hall, Habbo running a family zone, loads of stuff going on, loads of little exhibitors, huge open gaming area with lots of games in a lovely games library, D&D epics going on, panels, all sorts. I had a really good time. It was really well run, and you wouldn't know it was the first year of the con. It was so well organised.
No, I don't think you would.
Really slick.
I only went for the Saturday, but I still had like a full day of gaming. You know, got lots of things in. A fair amount of things that I wanted to do, didn't get round to doing, but I still had a really enjoyable time.
I just saw lots of pictures from various different people, and everyone seemed to be having an absolute blast. So, from what I saw, it looked good.
Yeah, the feedback's been very positive overall, and they did a great amount reaching out as well. They managed to get coverage in the national over on STV. They got really sort of mainstream coverage for the event, which was really, really good to see. I'm looking forward to next year,
and I will be there next year.
Damn right.
Now, 2018 is the 10-year anniversary of Pandemic, Matt Leacock's seminal game of disease fighting. Safe to say, I think it took the world by storm. And now we've got a brand new version of Pandemic coming out. Pandemic, The Fall of Rome. In it, players, 1 to 6 players. The first time Pandemic, I believe, will be including a solo game mode. You'll work for the glory of Rome to hold the line against barbarian invaders. Various Germanic tribes like the Anglo-Saxons, the Goths, the Vandals, and other foes like the Huns will be attempting to defeat the Roman Empire. And you'll send your little soldier meeples throughout the empire to try and stop them sacking cities. Interestingly enough, the game also comes with battle dice, lending a degree of luck, let's say, to Pandemic's already frenetic world-saving mechanics. But also, the card collection from Pandemic is still there in that you make peace with the tribes by collecting the matching coloured cards, and you can also use those cards to convert other members of that tribe into Roman soldiers, so you can boost your allies that way.
Yeah, I don't think much more's been really said about it at the moment. I mean, they've got a main article up on their website, but again, it doesn't really feed into any other greater picture.
No.
It looks very nice. The components that they've showed off look cool.
They've got no right not to be fair.
I think Shop and Sit Down were saying that they'd managed to get a wee sort of sneak preview of it at the Gathering of Friends this year and said it was pretty good.
Cool. No, I think with a lot of the Pandemic games lately that are happening, I think it's more of like it's a co-op game in the Pandemic vein, but it's not truly a Pandemic game. It's maybe just going under that license, maybe to help it sell a bit. Who knows?
Of course. I mean, you could look at it and go, oh, it's a game about the fall of Rome from various tribes. Oh, people would go, okay, it's like Pandemic. Except it's not. Inside there's a cooperative game, and now putting it under the Pandemic banner, it's part of this world where lots of people work together to save various things.
Yeah, no, and it definitely looks interesting. It looks different. I like that you're holding off attack, warding off invasion. It seems kind of cool. I'd like to play more of the Pandemic series, especially Pandemic Iberia. I'd really like to play, but again, all of them being kind of £45 board games.
You sort of got pick and choose really there.
Yeah, no.
I'd like to try Legacy sometime.
Same.
I would be up for Pandemic Legacy at some point. Very keen. But yes, it says it's going to have a release price of $49.99 and it'll be out in Q4 of this year. So expect it in the next couple of months.
Go on then, Sam. I can see you're chomping at the bit to get to this piece of news.
Oh, here gets the biggest piece of news I think we've ever covered on the show. Quite frankly,
That's a bold claim.
If not, the biggest games news, not video games, not board games, biggest games news in the history of games news. The two biggest games, the biggest board game, biggest video game, are pairing up to give you what looks to be a riot. This is Fortnite Monopoly. We all love metal tokens. Who doesn't like metal tokens? Well, we're going to bin them. We're going to trash them. Everyone gets a cardboard standee. That's where we're going. That's where we're moving. To be honest, this seems a bit more like the Mario Gamer Monopoly they did a few years back, where it seemed to actually be a bit more of a gotcha game than anything else. That it's a roll and move, going around a circuit, but actually you're trying to get out your opponents and steal tokens and things like that. Maybe even making it a better game, to be honest, a bit more of a game. So if people don't know what Fortnite is, it's a battle royale video game where 100 players have to just fight it out until it's last man standing, you know. There's an encroaching storm element, so the map is getting smaller and smaller, and apparently they're going to be doing that in the Monopoly game. There's also a building construction element, which they've put in the game in the forms of walls. By the looks of things, they haven't really said much about how it works, but I think that might stop you from progressing along the map. You can also get weapons cards, which are now the new community chest cards, weapons and little pickups you can get. How this is going to work, I don't really know. I think it's probably more worth it just maybe making a Fortnite board game and not just doing a Monopoly spin-off.
Well, funnily enough, Sam, they've actually, several months ago, there was a game called, I believe it's called Last One Standing,
yes,
was announced. That is a Battle Royale board game. I'm afraid details are still a little bit sparse on it. Actually, it may have even gone to Kickstarter. Details are sparse in that I haven't looked it up. My apologies, because it just came off the top of my head. Nevertheless, just building on what you were saying about the Storm card, Sam, it's when you pass go in Fortnite Monopoly, you'll draw a Storm from the Storm card deck. And from that, it might give you various benefits or penalties, including losing this game's version of money, which is HP tokens.
Okay, yeah. And you get 2 HP when you pass go. It does come with, I think, 24 cardboard standees, and that was leading to speculation for a while between the three of us, like, is this going to be 24-player Monopoly, which would actually be something to behold. It's 2 to 7 players.
No.
It's 2 to 7 players. Still, 7 players is an odd count, but hey, we'll see what it does. Apparently that Monopoly Gamer Edition was meant to be...
Yeah, I mean, it got some...
better,
that edition of Monopoly seemed to gain some traction amongst the community, but... Yeah, I still don't really care. I mean, I'm not a great fan of Monopoly. Play if you like it, I guess, but yeah.
Well, whatever. It made it into the news, folks.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Nice one, sir.
I'm so disgusted by making it in the news. I'm going to have to go outside for a bit. I really am.
Bye,
guys.
Well, Iain...
Is he just gone?
He's left us.
He's gone outside. Oh, he was doing something outside. I don't know.
Yeah, I did see him covered in dirt when he came in.
Anyway, you can pick up Fortnite Monopoly in 2 weeks.
Oh, fantastic.
There you go. I think he went to get his copy.
That's
what it was. 2-week walk to the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and Love Island, the board game.
Jamie, do you smell that?
I do. I think
we had a guest over, didn't he? He's cooking dinner.
Is that what it smells? Oh, I wondered what that smell was.
The Rock came over.
Oh, what a man.
Yeah, I can smell it.
Oh, what a man.
What The Rock is cooking is a Wizkids licensed board game series.
I knew it was coming and I still was just like...
Oh. Wizkids have announced a line of WWE licensed games, starting with HeroClix and Dice Masters, and then branching out into all sorts of things. Who knows what it's going to be? I just think, is this a license that's really worth? I've always found kind of that pro wrestling thing really, really weird. To be honest, I find it an odd thing to get enthusiastic about because it is so staged and fake, and it's like, if you want to see people fighting, just watch some boxing.
It's the entertainment side of it. I used to be a big fan when I was about 9 or 10, and I've got several fans who are massive fans right now, and it is just, the physicality of it. It's that storyline that kind of goes very back and forth.
It's a soap opera.
And I think yes, exactly. It's a very physical soap opera, and I think. Wrestling games are few and far between, and the ones that have been, done have only scratched the surface. I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of the Luchador. It was a kind of dice rolling game, and again, that's Mexican Luchador wrestling, which is slightly different.
But it's wrestling either way,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if we're going to see more board games of it, I'm very interested to see what it will bring.
And I suppose very much each WWE wrestler is a brand in themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what they're selling. I think it's just an interesting move. Obviously, Wizkids aren't going to buy this license without knowing it's got some traction.
No, of course not.
So maybe something cool will come out of that license. I don't think personally it's for me at all. But hey, there's obviously an audience out there who really wants a pre-painted figure of The Rock, which actually does sound kind of cool.
Yes, see, you're talking yourself into it now. Steamforged Games, creators of Guild Ball, have announced that for Season 4 of the Guild Ball releases, they're going to be ditching all the cards that come with it and are instead going to be consolidating it all into an app that allow you to build your team and allow you to manage your team without messing up all your cards. They've also delayed the new games, their new season's guild, the Navigators Guild, to ensure supply is readily available to meet demands.
I played Guild. I had a demo of Guild Ball.
Yes, I was there. I watched you play Guild Ball
last year. It was quite an enjoyable game. It was only very kind of basic, so I didn't see a lot of that team building element. So I don't know how kind of in depth that is. To be honest,
it is quite cardy.
Yeah, and I quite like the idea of getting rid of a lot of clutter if you can.
Yes.
It's just going to be dedicated. Can you print stuff off?
It's pretty much just going to be an app. The new things might come with some cards, but it's all going to predominantly, like second edition X-Wing. It's going to
no. I was going to mention that. Yeah, FFG have recently done a similar thing with X-Wing 2.0. So yeah, they've they haven't done away with cards, but they're having the app take a more prominent role in squad building. So, like keeping track of points updates, they'll be able to kind of recost points via that. It looks cool. I've been following it quite closely. I'm looking at getting in, maybe getting back into it. Yeah,
going back into it. You're a big fan, weren't you, Sam?
Yeah, I played it for like it had to be like 4 years. And
So
then
you-
just kind of fell out of love with it, but second edition's come around and it's...
But you know,
cool.
you say you know your stuff. You know quite a lot. Sam.
Oh, is this my go now? Oh, okay.
Samuel Maggs, your specialist subject?
Apparently X-Wing miniatures game.
Correct.
Oh, good.
Question 1. At what gaming event in 2012 was the X-Wing miniatures game first released?
Gen Con.
Correct. As of September 2018, how many factions have been announced for the second edition?
7.
Correct. 2 games published by Wizkids use the Flight Pass system that was developed for X-Wing. Star Trek Attack Wing is one. What is the other?
D&D Attack Wing.
Correct. How many waves of ships have Fantasy Flight released for first edition?
15.
14. What new mechanic has been introduced in second edition for a select number of pilots, allowing them to affect focus results?
The Force.
Correct. True or false? There are 2 epic scale ships for each of the 3 original factions.
False.
Correct. Whilst having no damage cards, the Imperial pilot Epsilon Ace had the highest pilot skill in first edition. What was it?
9.
12. There are 4 types of secondary weapons: torpedoes, turrets, bombs, and...
Missiles.
Correct. How many ships with wing in the title are available for the Rebel faction?
5.
7. What is the playtime of the second edition core set as stated on the box?
Half an hour?
I'll accept that answer. Sam Maggs, after 10 questions, you have scored 7 out of 10.
Thank you very much. So we've all done that now. When do we ever hear the results? I don't really know how that works.
I don't know. I think we're just gonna keep going round until I don't know.
Hey, hi guys, what's going on?
Oh, hey man. Did you missed the chair? Sam was in the chair.
Oh, okay,
questions
that
then.
happened again.
What?
Yeah.
That does keep happening, doesn't it?
I'm really confused. Where have you been?
What? Well, can you not tell? I've got all this like dirt and stuff on me. I've been out in the garden in a hole.
That
I found
sounds
some stuff.
really ominous, but
I mean,
I'm
you
up
do
for
smell of
this.
soil. You do smell of soil, so I thought you'd be.
That could just be what the rock is
playing in
cooking.
the compost?
We got the rock round, Ian.
That's true. It could be.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, I saw him on the way out.
Yeah. Lovely guy.
Yeah, he's really nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you come outside, I've dug some news up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the first bit of news I uncovered. If you look in this hole here, if you can help me out of the hole of this, it's quite a heavy bit of news. This one.
It is.
You can help me. Thanks. Yeah, it's this massive tablet that's been uncovered during excavation works in Russia.
But it was in our garden.
Well, you know, time, space, radio. We can be anywhere.
Okay.
Sam, we may be sitting on the remains of an ancient museum board
Of
game
board
burial
games.
ground.
That would be really good for plot.
Anyway, this was found inside the 13th century Viborg castle. It looks like a 9-men's Morris board. It was discovered during excavations in a sort of secret area of the castle. And yeah, it's just a really interesting little find, showing that board games were about during the 13th century, if not earlier. And we'll come to more on that in a second. If you help me out this hole a second, guys.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, help me out. Yeah,
Here you go,
help me out.
here you go.
Okay.
Yep,
I'll just
yep,
dust myself.
there we go.
This
we
one's
go.
a bit more of a shallow hole over here. Anyway, this one it's a sort of little tablet.
Lots of tablets being dug up.
Yeah, lots of tablets being dug up. We've got tablets now. They had tablets then. Technology has come full circle.
So tablet-based gaming.
Yeah, it's found while searching for the Monastery of Deer in Aberdeenshire, an establishment that they think is responsible for an important text of the time called the Book of Deer, which was widely believed to be the oldest Scottish manuscript. The board game they found, they carbon dated it to the 7th or 8th century, which is round about the time the monastery was probably about. So yeah, it's a promising discovery in their search for this monastery.
Sorry, Ian. They carbon dated it to how long ago?
About the year 669.
Yep.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
No, I'm seriously impressed.
Yeah, it's quite impressive, isn't it? Oh, actually, yeah, this one's actually in my shed. If you want to come in here, man.
Oh, this is your shed.
Yeah. No, this is where I live.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
This one was found in Jersey. It's a game mocking Nazis during the occupation, and it's called Occupation.
Jersey, the Channel Island.
Jersey, the Channel Island, not inner Jersey,
Okay.
in the island of Jersey.
Or New Jersey.
Indeed. It was found by a Simon Griffiths in a suitcase in his new house. It's a roll and move game. It looks very much like a Monopoly board, but it has on the front of it, laugh your troubles away by playing Occupation. Tell your friends about it and cheer them up as well. And it has all sorts of spaces like losing ration books and all sorts of things like that. And it was just sort of mocking the Nazi occupation, showing that board games have been right through history and always political. In every way.
Absolutely. And another way to inveigle what looks like Monopoly into the news.
Oh, yeah.
What a day.
Dear.
What a day it's been.
Indeed. Anyway, let's go back into the studio, gents. That's enough mucking around outside, isn't it? It's time for some brainstorms. We've talked in the news today about how Guild Ball has moved to an app component rather than having its cards, and X-Wing 2nd Edition is also doing the same thing, and I believe the game War Machine is also going that direction. So more and more games we're seeing app integration, and what we'd like to talk about today is, can apps really improve our experience at the table? What do we think, guys?
Straight up, I think yes. As a general answer to that question, I think they can.
I think they can take away a lot of the sort of like the pain of setup and that kind of thing. Certainly Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition is a really good example of this. The first edition of that I played, and the setup was horrendous, and if you got any of it wrong, it basically ruined the game. And the 2nd edition is much, much better with the app because it just does that setup for you.
I think isn't that very similar to Imperial Assault as well? It's both of them have kind of taken a GM role, as it were. They were relieving another player of the point of just going, right, I want to play this game, but I can't because I have to play the Game Master role because you don't know what you're doing, so I'm going to rely on this.
Especially with Imperial Assault, that was me for a very long time, that I played a lot of Imperial Assault, but I never felt I actually played the game in the right sense because I was the Empire player, And
but now there's basically an AI GM, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think that really frees that up for it to be a truly cooperative experience, rather than a them against you. You're all just playing this game together, like Mansions of Madness. So previously, did you have a like an Overlord player? There was basically an Overlord player, and you had to set up everything very precisely in a very precise way because of the investigative nature of the game. But if you got anything slightly wrong, it just blew up.
Also, I have, it's slightly anecdotal, but a friend of a friend running Game of Mansions of Madness, and especially if you get gamers who are very picky on details, and they would potentially rules lawyer it slightly unfairly and go, but you can't attack, they're moving exactly this far away and you can't attack because they're actually diagonal away from you, and you can't attack if you're diagonal with this because there's actually a wall in the way and this thing can reach around a corner, and this will take out some of the, shall we say, less unfairness that may come from a human opponent.
And I think as well, like it's the same thing with video games, is that actually you can't get the rules wrong in a video game because it knows what the rules are. Whereas in a board game, there's a lot of like that, it's like, so can I move diagonally? Can I attack diagonally? What does this weapon fully do? All these things. Actually, the app will just say, sorry, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point about sort of rules and making, taking away the sort of human unfairness component, that rules lawyering kind of thing, because the app will just do its thing.
Yeah.
I played the XCOM board game a bit. I sold it recently because it just wasn't getting played as much, but it had a really interesting app component, really stressful sort of timer of it acted, the app in XCOM kind of acted like the infection deck in Pandemic, and it would change things and do things and push out more problems, and there's a lot of speculation that it would sort of adapt a little bit to how you were doing because you would feed back information into it, so it would sort of change.
I've also played a lot of XCOM, and also what I got from that is just it added so much to the theme of that board game.
Yeah,
That you're there with the computer blasting out like, this is where the aliens are, this is what's coming in, do this, do that. And actually just having a screen doing that was really in theme. Yeah. Because you're in a control room, in a sense, doing these things, pressing these buttons, whilst also talking with your friends around a table and pushing things across a map, like a war room, almost, you know.
I was just double checking. I'm just talking about app. We're talking about app integration and how like you said, XCOM. It kind of is. It's integral to it. And I was just double checking something that I was remembered of. And Fireball Island by Restoration Games during the Kickstarter, one of the unlocked, I guess, stretch goals or things is a complimentary app you can get for it, which would give a first play randomizer, score sheet, sounds of the island, sound clips of the thing, and allow a co-op game mode as well. Rules for it. So it's integrating that. And there's also a game called World of Yo-Ho.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
2 years ago. Don't know if you've heard about this. That basically it came with just a map, and it told you to download the game onto your phone, and your phone became your playing piece. You would move your phone about the map, about the board. Yeah, and you plug in right where you're going, and if you'd meet other players,
the game was not meant to be that great, but it's an interesting idea certainly to use your mobile phone as an actual to use your phone as a component is a really interesting idea.
Exactly, I think it is the next. I don't want to say the next logical step, but it is one of the logical next steps in app board game integration as we find more and more the analog and the digital.
And I think XCOM was the first kind of mainstream foray into that. With FFG doing this, Eric Lang designed game. It was a big license, really.
There was a lot of controversy at the time, I remember,
Completely. But now FFG have really kind of embraced that. So you've got Mansions of Madness, you've got Descent, 2nd edition, you've got Star Wars Imperial Assault. As we mentioned, X-Wing has that
Keyforge is going to have an app component as well.
Keyforge as well. So really kind of digital meeting the tabletop, I think they're really going for it. Because obviously it's seeming to work. Like, if people were really hating on this and it wasn't working, they wouldn't continue with it.
And of course, we've got the Dized app as well. That our interview with Dized is still coming, but we'll hopefully have that out in the next month or so. But yeah, that's an app that's basically going to take, or intends to take over the rulebook for you.
Yeah. I think one thing that people need to realise and need to kind of grasp is that companies don't want apps to take over board gaming. It's always to augment and hopefully enhance a gaming experience, that it's never board games are becoming video games. And every game I've played with an app element, it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, and one thing to say also, like with you get app versions of games as well, like complete digital versions. From what I've heard about that is that a lot of the time the app version of the game helps the physical sales because people can sort of try it for like basically £2-3, see if they like it, and then they feel like picking up the board game, and that's great. And it's a lot easier. And of course, they can get their board game out to millions of people very easily without having to ship, etc.
I was in a board game shop today, and I was very much considering getting Onirim, the card game. I don't know if either of you have played that. Because I've played it a lot on my iPad, and I really enjoy it on the iPad.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
So I didn't get it, but.
Story, Sam thinks about buying a game, decides not to.
I got the latest Arkham expansion instead. Oh well.
And actually, quite similar, the game Onitama was recently released for free on Android and iOS as an app. And apparently, according to a lot of the board game pages on Facebook, people seem to be playing a lot of it.
Are doing this.
It's still, a little bit buggy, but it's showing a lot of promise.
And as we've talked about previously, FFG have just released in early access the Lord of the Rings, the card game on Steam. So that's a physical card game making its way over to a digital platform. It is a different game in total. However, it's still that overlap, and I think it is something really I'd like to see embraced. Not necessarily embraced more, but I think for what I've seen it used in, it has been good.
I think what we're driving at is that app integration into tabletop games can be a really good thing. It can absolutely enhance the experience, and it's not something to be feared. We all carry smartphones in our pockets. it's easy to get these apps. And a lot of this app integration isn't going to like ruin your board game for years and years and years. You're still going to be able to play it down the line. It'll be fine. And and hopefully some of the digital versions of games will bring more people into the hobby. So that's about all we have time for on this episode of Brainwaves. But before we go, we'd just like to give a little boost and shout out to Meeple Perk, a new cafe in Newcastle, new board games cafe that is looking for funding. They've got a lot of their funding sorted out already, and the Kickstarter is really just to get them over the final sort of hurdle, the final little bit of money they need to really kick things off. The people involved really sound like know what they're doing, sound like they've got their heads screwed on. One's a barista by trade, basically. The other's a real board game enthusiast. And yeah, it'd be really nice to see another board game cafe open up, because they're really good portals for the hobby. We'll put a link to them in the show notes, and yeah, give them your support if you can.
We wouldn't be here without board game cafes.
Absolutely not. We three would not have met without a board game cafe. And one last thing, we just want to do a little shout out to a couple of other podcasts that are out there you should check out. I met the guys from the First Player Token over the course of Tabletop Scotland. They're a Scottish-based podcast as well. You should check them out. They do a weekly podcast. It's 1 week's computer games, 1 week's board games. So do check out their stuff. They've just put out their Tabletop Scotland podcast, which I haven't listened to yet, but I will be doing so by the time this goes out. And a little shout out to our friends over at the Smart Party as well, who have been putting out some really good casts recently. They're an RPG focused podcast. My friend Gaz and his mate Baz. Yes, they are called Gaz and Baz. It's still funny. They've had some really good podcasts recently. Their interview with Satine Phoenix, who is the D&D community manager, was fantastic. And they have recently put out a podcast about integrating GMing and D&D and that kind of thing into education, because Baz is now a teacher, and they know quite a few teachers as well. And yeah, so that's really interesting as well. Give them a look. They've got a Patreon as well. If you can chuck a couple bucks their way, please do so.
Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you've listened to, then the best way to help us out is to share the podcast and drop us a review and rating on iTunes. And you can also follow us on Twitter at The Giant Brain, on Instagram, Giant Brain UK, Facebook, The Giant Brain, website, giantbrainu.co.uk, or email us at giantbrainuk@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Take care. Hello there, Jamie here. Just after we finished recording, we found out that when Sam was calculating the number of ships with the name Wing in their title in the X-Wing miniatures game, he forgot about Y-Wings and X-Wings. According to Sam, he got to U and thought that was it.